Thanks, on. Welcome to the Metro Plan Orlando TAC meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is Lee Pullum, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. Just as a reminder, since this meeting and our future meetings will be in person, it is important for all TAC members to attend our meetings in person in order for us to have a quorum. Members of the public will still be able to participate virtually, and we encourage them to do that. So immediately following the adjournment of this meeting, Metro Plan Orlando staff will hold a workshop on the active transportation plan, and all TAC members are encouraged to attend. There will be an overview of the workshop presented during this meeting, and that will be our only presentation today. There are two public comment points in the meeting. Members of the public attending in person who want to speak will need to fill out a comment card and give it to Lisa. Those attending virtually who want to speak will use the raised hands feature on the Zoom screen. If attending by phone, you can hit *9 to raise your hand and request to be recognized. When you are called, your microphone will be temporarily unmuted by staff, and will ask that you state your name and contact information for the record. We have also accepted comments by email before the meeting. And I guess I will, since this will be my last in-person meeting this year as chairperson, I want to thank all of you for allowing me to hold this position. And it's been a pleasure serving as the chairperson. And I will now turn the time over to Mr. Keith Kask.
Okay, good morning. Just have a couple of things this morning. First of all, just to let you all know about an upcoming staffing change. Some of you may not be aware that I'm planning to retire from Metro Plan this coming December. And so Slade Downs, who's one of our new planners, is going to be taking over as the staff liaison for this committee. And Slade was the TAC liaison in his previous job at the Sarasota Manatee NPO. So I'm sure it'll be a smooth transition, but I just want to give you all a heads up on that. And then as the chairwoman mentioned, we have the active transportation plan workshop immediately following this meeting. And of course, normally at these meetings, we have our presentations first, followed by the action items. But because of the workshop, we wanted to go ahead and get the action items out of the way. And they should go pretty quickly, so then we can have the workshop overview and then quickly go into the workshop immediately following the meeting. So that's all I have this morning. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Smith for the roll call.
Good morning. I'll ask all committee members to keep your microphones off until called and mute again after your name has been called. Please say here or present. Abbott Dontuano.
Here.
Bates.
Here.
Brock.
Here.
Carson.
Here.
Cash. Castellero.
Here.
Rhodes for Castro.
Here.
Cornelison. DeVries.
Here.
Doig.
Here.
Tracy for Edie.
Here.
Elliott Moore.
Present.
Friel. Gold. Hammer. Hardwick.
Here.
Wetzel for Dredge.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Kamal. Krug. Lim.
Here.
Moskowitz. Detweiler for O'Keefe.
Here.
Giovinazzo for Olor.
Here.
Pulliam.
Here.
Richmond. Rigby. Sanders.
Here.
Smith.
Present.
Stirk.
Here.
Ramos for Sudemeyer.
Here.
Wharton.
Here.
Radzai.
Here.
Madam Chair, that concludes the roll call, and we do have a quorum physically present.
Thank you, Lisa. We will now hear public comments on the action items. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record and hold your comments to 2 minutes. If any member of the public wish to comment and are joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We will send you a prompt to unmute your mic. Do we have anyone joining us virtually?
There are no hands raised on the virtual side, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Kathy. Do we have any members of the public attending in person that wish to make public comments?
I have not received any.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. And are there any written comments that have been submitted? No, none of those either. Okay, so we will now turn our attention to our action items. We have 3 action items today. Members making or seconding a motion, please state your name. The first one is approval of the August 26th TAC minutes. They're in your tab 1. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve. Shad Smith.
Thank you, Shad. Do I have a second?
Second, Kane.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes. Our second item is appointment of officers selection subcommittee. So this will be for the serving on the subcommittees for 2023. I would ask for 1 volunteer from each county and 1 city for each county to serve on the subcommittee. Do I have a motion? So anyone have any names they'd like to put forward?
Madam Chair, I would like to volunteer myself as Pinaro for Orange County.
Okay,
And Josh DeVries, I'd like to volunteer myself for Osceola County.
okay. Osceola, anyone?
Laura Hardwick, I'll volunteer myself for Orlando.
Orlando. Do we have someone from Seminole?
I'll volunteer Mary Moskowitz. How about that?
Oh, okay. She isn't here. Perfect. All right. Okay, so we have our 3 individuals. Do we have a motion to approve the appointment?
I move to approve the volunteers.
Okay, thank you, Shad. Do I have a second?
Kane, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Mary, do you have anything you'd like to say? Okay, hearing none. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, is there anyone who does not? Okay, so we have sorry about that. The motion carries. Okay, the next is approval of the proposed 2023 board committee meeting schedule. Mr. Keith Caskey will present this.
Okay, well, the only issue on this item is the date of the May meeting. Right now it's scheduled for May 26th, which of course is Memorial Day weekend. And at the TSMO meeting this morning, they voted to move their meeting date up to May 19th. So I just wanted to open up the discussion this morning to see if you all want to do the same or keep it where it is.
I'll make a motion to move it up to I believe the 19th, the week before.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No. Okay, this is a voice vote. All committee members, please unmute your microphones. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes. Okay, so we have 1 presentation today. We will hold discussions or questions after the presentation. If you have any, please stand your nameplate on its end, and we will recognize you at that time. Slade Downs from Metro Plan Orlando will now introduce this presentation.
Right. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Like you said, I'm Slade Downs. I'm a transportation planner here at MetroPlan Orlando. I am also the Deputy Project Manager for the Active Transportation Plan. Taylor Laurent is the project manager. She couldn't be here today. She's in Minnesota at a conference, but she sends her regards. And without further ado, I'll introduce Catherine Tellez from Fair and Peers, the consultant for this project. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Slade, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to introduce you to the MetroPlan Orlando Active Transportation Plan. As Slade mentioned, I'm Catherine Tellez. I'm a principal transportation planner with Fair and Peers. I'm based right here in Orlando, and I'm leading the consultant team for the project. So our goals for this brief presentation are really to provide you an introduction to the overall project, its purpose, provide a project overview, and then some workshop directions. So we have a fun morning planned for you after this. There's candy in all the various rooms. It should be hopefully a little bit of fun for your Friday morning. And we really do appreciate all of your feedback as we get this project kicked off. For some of you, this may be the first time you've been involved in the preparation of an active transportation plan, and you may not know what's typically included. So an active transportation plan, or ATP, provides a comprehensive set of strategies to provide better options for walking and bicycling, as well as accessing transit. This plan will ultimately identify new or modified infrastructure and policies and procedures based on feedback from the public, this group, and many of the other MetroPlan Orlando boards. So you may be wondering what we mean by the word better, and that's something we're going to vet a little bit more through the steering committee on the project. But for the purposes of this discussion, we're really referring to comfort and safety. So really providing a comfortable system where people can walk and ride their bike, and then improving our transportation safety outcomes. So you may be wondering what we can expect from the plan, and then ultimately what MetroPlan Orlando's role is. So we're really starting off with a detailed assessment of what's currently on the ground and what's currently planned, and that's really the focus of our workshop today. And then identifying new feasible facilities on the MPO roadway network, as well as off-network corridors such as utility alignments. And then upon adoption, this updated network will be incorporated into the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. Yeah, hard to believe we're planning out to 2050. It seems like a very long way away, but it'll be here before we know it. And then we really want to prioritize those projects and then allocate regional funding such that they can get built in the coming years. Let's see, so we've divided the project into 5 key tasks. And we'll go through each one of them in a little bit of detail, just so you can kind of understand what we're working on. So the first main task is really engagement. So we're establishing a steering committee. We have our first meeting scheduled in the next few weeks. It's a pretty diverse committee, so we can get lots of different perspectives and feedback. We'll have various technical advisory committee workshops, as well as community advisory workshops and meetings. So we'll be back in front of this group at various points throughout the process to provide you updates and get feedback. We're also going out to the general public. All of that outreach to the general public will be conducted in both English and Spanish, because we're trying to get as broad feedback as possible. And then we'll be coming before all the other MetroPlan Orlando groups and boards, making sure that everybody is well aware of what the project is, what it isn't, what the status is, and can provide feedback along the way. Task 2 is really the data collection. So this is where we are right now in terms of the key analytics. So really wanting to understand what's been built, what's on the ground, what's already planned on the books. And then part of your what we're asking you is to help us understand, are there any facilities on the ground that we missed, just to make sure that we have a complete assessment of the existing conditions. And then for the planned facilities, are there any facilities that you've recently added to a plan that we haven't reflected? And then are there any facilities that we're showing as planned that maybe they're not feasible? Maybe they've been on the books for 20 years and for whatever reason, they just have not been constructed, and we should probably not consider them feasible at this point. We're also doing a pretty detailed review of right-of-way information, just so we can identify where we might have some low-hanging fruit opportunities to add facilities. We want to understand where we have transit stops, what that ridership data is, making sure we're incorporating the transit data. As one of the goals is to ultimately improve transportation safety outcomes, we're going to look at a host of crash data, understanding where that's happening on the system. And then demographic data. We want to understand for various projects who it will actually help and benefit, to make sure that the benefits of the project are appropriately spread amongst the community. We also know this region is growing, so we want to take a look at that future land use and roadway network, making sure that we're incorporating those future plans into this longer term active transportation plan. And then, of course, taking a look at policies, making sure that we don't have policy conflicts as the project progresses. So once we have a pretty good handle on all that existing conditions, and we've gotten feedback from this group and the general public and the steering committee, we'll be starting on doing a whole host of analysis. A lot of that is really based on accessibility. So how many jobs are accessible via walking, biking modes? And then we can use these as metrics to help us evaluate different options and alternatives. We're also looking at how comfortable different facilities are. So we'll be doing that through a level of traffic stress analysis, and then just identifying different opportunity areas where we really want to prioritize providing additional bicycling and walking infrastructure. So level of traffic stress is really a measurement of how comfortable a facility is. And so you may have a bike lane on a 6-lane roadway that has high rate of travel speed, lots of vehicle volumes, lots of conflicts. You might have a bike facility, but it's not going to be comfortable or used by a lot of people. So really assessing what are our most comfortable facilities. And then if we have facilities that are pretty uncomfortable for most people, are there opportunities perhaps to make that facility more comfortable, or maybe provide a facility on a parallel route that could be more comfortable and used by a broader range of the population. And then once we've compiled all of that information and identified where we want to add additional facilities, there'll be lots of documentation. So we plan on preparing lots of maps. There'll be static maps. We'll have lots of things on the web that are interactive. We'll have lots of infographics, so really nice sort of summary snapshots that folks can easily understand. We'll have those boring technical reports because we have to prepare them, but we'll try and minimize those. And then really we're going to be incorporating all of this information with all the other modal plans, because we want to make sure that all of the different modes of travel work seamlessly together. So we have a pretty ambitious schedule. We have about 15, 16 months. So we're here in October 2022. We have the data collection and existing conditions underway, and we're here to get feedback on that today. Early next year, we're going to be working on a whole host of analysis, and then moving into the system planning. We'll have some preliminary draft plans by June, and we'll be coming back for another workshop to get your feedback on all of those. We plan to have a draft plan in October, with then it finalized in December. And then we have a variety of public engagement planned, so including the TAC and CAC workshops. We have our steering committee meetings. We'll have general public engagement at a few points in the process, and then board meetings. And then we will be coming back to all of the different boards and committees periodically to provide updates and receive feedback. So with that, let's move into the fun stuff. So you may have noticed as you were walking in that there were boards in different areas. And so what we have is, the schedule and key task overview. So if folks have any questions on that, or you just want to see some more details, we have those in each area. We have descriptions of different bicycle facility types. As we are going through some of the documents, we noticed that we're calling the same thing by slightly different names. So we just wanted to define how we were defining them for the purposes of these initial maps, just so we could all understand when we say side path or shared use path, what we mean by that. And then we have the existing and planned facilities for each county in the different rooms. So I'll share with you where we can find all that in just a moment. But really, what do we need from you? We need you to go through and take a look at the existing facility types and let us know if we miscategorized anything. Did you perhaps add a buffer to a bike lane that we just didn't capture that we should make sure to include? So that way the level of traffic stress analysis is more accurate. And then just, did we miss anything entirely? We know there's a lot of things happening, a lot of things under construction. We may not have that complete up-to-date information. And then with the planned facility types, let us know if maybe you've decided that instead of a bike lane, we're going to do a protected bike lane, or maybe we're going to do a side path instead, or maybe you're no longer planning to construct a facility that you have on the map. Let us know. And then if you've added things, let us know that as well. And we know this is a lot of information, and we've actually set up an online portal. So you can actually go back to your offices and take a look at plans and maybe delegate it to somebody else who's a little closer to the data, who can then provide us that feedback. So for today, if you have initial feedback or comments, we have Post-its, we have Sharpies. Feel free to write on the boards. Feel free to put it on a Post-it. We just want your feedback. So whatever way is easiest for you, you can draw lines on the map. That works as well. And then we do have the online portal set up with some QR codes, so you can feel free to go on that today. Taylor and Slade will be sending out a link to that next week as well for feedback. And then we also have a survey on there. We really want to understand what your challenges have been in terms of constructing active transportation facilities in your community. We're just trying to sort of gauge where everybody is in the region and how Metro Plan Orlando can help. So once we have all this information, as I mentioned, we're going to be using it to help refine the level of traffic stress and accessibility analysis, and then using all of that to help us identify where we should prioritize adding additional facilities. So we have things situated in 3 different areas. So we have Orange County in the Harold Barley Conference Room. So that's going to be the first room. And then in Bald Cypress, we have Seminole County. So that's the second room. And then in the atrium planning section, we have Osceola County. In each area, there is a sign-in sheet. We'd really appreciate it if you could just sign in. And then there's also candy, so you get a little reward after you sign in. And then to help us spread the demand, we're asking that you just go to start off in your county, and then you're free to go visit any of the other counties, especially if you perhaps live in a different county from where you work, or you like to recreate in a different county and you have feedback. But just to kind of spread things out, we'll start off in your home county. And so with that, happy to answer any initial questions. And we have members of the consultant team and Metro Plan Orlando staff available for questions during the workshop.
Hello, 2 questions. So the policy recommendations, are those going to be just limited to the ones that the MPO can implement, or will that include recommendations for policies for the locals or potentially state agency?
It's primarily focused on Metro Plan Orlando, but to the extent we are planning on sort of doing a benchmarking, if we identify some policies that might be problematic, we'll reach out to individual agencies and flag those, but those won't necessarily be included as part of the plan, because this is a Metro Plan Orlando plan.
Okay. And then can you talk a little bit more about the steering committee, sort of the makeup of that committee, the size, and how their role throughout the process, and if you plan on keeping them after adoption?
So we're planning on about 15 people on the steering committee. We have a few folks from the advocacy world. We have a few folks, I think some from this room might have been invited to join as well. We have law enforcement, we have some public health folks. The goal, and we have some folks from the disabled community as well, and transit. So we're really trying to get a broad range of people. So far, we just have 5 meetings planned, and whether or not the group continues beyond the project has not been determined yet.
Question, Madam Chair. Yes, and thank you so much, Catherine. Again, the question that I have is related to, based on the presentation that you have, you're going to be identifying existing corridors and also the stress levels for the people would feel comfortable in riding. My question is, are you also going to be considering transportation equity as part of
Yes.
this? Because it's going to be very critical. And then as part of Division 0 that we're going to be rolling out in Orange County, is also safety and the perspective For instance, for us, I know that we have our public works office in Yonjon Parkway and I-4. There is a bike lane. That is a 4-foot bike lane. And they were asking me, Humberto, you're gonna be riding your bike for Mobility Week. I said, are you crazy? I said, I'm gonna die in there because they have. So the question is that we may have this connectivity, but it might not be conducive. And what would it require? Because for us, on the implementation phase, we need a cost estimate and something that if we wait for the resurfacing, it's gonna be another 10 to 12 years, depending on what cycle we are. So what is gonna be practical for us to be able to provide this connectivity in terms of the existing infrastructure, but also to make sure that we are addressing the needs as well.
Yeah, so in terms of equity, that will be a big focus of the plan, and that's why we're gathering all the demographic data, because we really want to understand the who benefits and perhaps from the accessibility analysis, who does not have, for whom jobs are not accessible, medical facilities, schools. And so really making sure we're targeting projects and communities where perhaps those accessibility levels are pretty low.
Yeah, and then if I may, the last thing is that we're talking about micromobility. Are we gonna be allowing to have scooters to be riding on the bike lane? Because I know that they're allowed to ride on the sidewalk, but sometimes it will not be conducive on the roadway. So from a last mile perspective, connecting that, is that also gonna be part of the consideration?
So that's a great question. And a lot of the micromobility and e-bikes, that's limited by state statute. So that's something we'll be doing a little bit more research on, just so we can all fully understand what's allowed, what's not allowed, and then make decisions accordingly.
Catherine, so how does this compare to the safety action plan that was applied for under the SS4A? Like, will these complement each other, and how does it contrast?
So I would say these will definitely be complementary plans. And I'll say when the Metro Plan Orlando region is awarded the funding for everybody to prepare their own Vision Zero action plans, those plans will identify a list of projects. I imagine many of the projects that will be identified in this active transportation plan will then show up in that Vision Zero plan. So that way you can apply for implementation funding. So I think this will help us jumpstart some of those project lists. Thank you.
That concludes today's presentations. There are no TAC only presentations. There are several items under general information at tab 3 in your agenda packets for you to review at your leisure. Upcoming meetings, our next TAC meeting will be held on December 2nd. The next Metroplan board meeting will be on November 9th and will be an in-person meeting. At this time, do any committee members want to make any final comments? Seeing none, we'll move on. So that this is our final public comments section. If any members of the public wish to comment and are joining us virtually, use your raise hand function. You'll be recognized, or dial *9. We'll send you a prompt. After you're recognized, you need to state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 2 minutes or less. Do we have anyone joining us virtually who would like to make comments? Kathy?
No hands raised on the virtual side, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Do we have any members of the public attending in person that wish to make public comments? Lisa?
I have not received any.
Okay, so thank you, Lisa. And are there any written comments that were submitted during the meeting? No, none of those. Okay, so we are adjourned at this time. Since there are no further business, we will begin our workshop activity now. Please proceed to the conference rooms and atrium area to see the workshop materials. You'll be receiving an email with any additional information about making comments after the workshop. Thank you.